Welcome to my thoughts on Eyes of Wakanda Season 1, Episode 3, Lost and Found. This episode is rated TV 14, so this video there will be spoilers for everything MCU leading up to and including this episode. Another episode I loved. Yeah, let's see. Let's see if we can do this chronologically, more or less. Yeah, I really love I'm such a mark sometimes for specific tropes. This thing of like we don't see if the other person is really awake or not. And later in the episode we do realize yes, Jirani was very much awake, just waiting for him to make his move. And the let's see. Very cool that they actually speak Mandarin. Adds to the authenticity. And let's see. So yeah, he sneaks up to get the piece, and that is. I'll get to that when I get to it. But he can't get the vibranium out of the. So he steals the whole statue, and gust of wind reveals that it's time for an action scene. I mean, that he stole something, so they're gonna try to fight him. And yeah, again, they do a really great job at making the action sufficiently varied. At the end of the day, we have a lot of like hand-to-hand fighting, and sometimes they'll use like weapons and yeah, martial arts. Let's see. I think I think that pretty much takes us all the way out of China and back to Wakanda. So I thought they did a really good job of immediately as soon as they say you were radio silent for weeks, we assumed the worst. And later, I mean, I guess it's not the worst. It could have gone worse, but it's not good. And let's see, they talk about there's something mysterious about what was the report, the intel, something along those lines, and they talk about a curse. I really appreciate that they let us think that it was supernatural. Well, I guess it turns out to be supernatural, but it's also a person, a human being with supernatural powers. But yeah, that was a really great choice. Bold strategy. I feel like it paid off for them. Yeah, so he comes back to Wakanda. I think they, once he lands, I think they did a good job of showing like people like him, but they also appreciate that he's not perfect. He is a flawed individual, and they set up pretty early this thing of like he treats it like it's a contest, and just focuses on winning, on conquering, and that causes problems. Let's see. I think does that more or less get us to? Yeah. So the bit with the one of the people at the hangar is like checking out the plane, and there's something weird on the scan, and of course like she doesn't think it could be like an interloper because that doesn't happen. People don't, like almost no one from the outside ever enters Wakanda, and when they do, it tends not to go well for them, and it tends to be at the border, not in the hangar. So she has no idea that there's and it plays like a horror movie. I love it. Like just see the person disappear, and we have no idea what just happened. And yeah, like I'm sitting there thinking, I mean, maybe it's a curse. Like it's the MCU. There's much, wilder, weirder ideas. And then we have the they mention this is a really important room. Everything in here is like an important artifact, and then later it gets messed up, of course. Yeah, I think that pretty well brings us to so yeah. I'm afraid at this point I forget if it was because someone like revealed it outright, or if it was just because I have seen pictures. I can never remember if I've actually read Iron Fist. I think I have. Um, Bear with me. It's been 18 years since I regularly read comic books. I think I did read at least some stories, not like solo stories, but ones where there was an Iron Fist on a team or something like that. So, but yeah, it is a recognizable look, and I thought they did a good job of building up to it because, like, if you know enough about the comics, you immediately think, oh, that's the Iron Fist. But she also said, I am the Iron Fist, and then she uses it, and yeah, I swear I'm not gonna go off on a whole thing about the Defenders verse, the Marvel Netflix Marvel Iron Fist. I am on the record as not being the biggest fan. I think it's especially the first 3 episodes of the first season. The rest of the season does better, and season 2 is genuinely quite good, I think. Yeah, I do think this is the superior Iron Fist. I feel bad for now I don't even remember his name, but the guy who played Iron Fist on that show. I hear he's great elsewhere, and I have no real reason to doubt that. Fundamentally, I don't think a white dude should be playing Iron Fist. So I really appreciate that here it actually was an East Asian person. Yeah. And the character is East Asian. I mean, in universe, this character, in the episode, the character is presented as being an East Asian individual. This is also a great time to try to humanize in American media Chinese people because, that spike in hate crimes because of Trump's rhetoric. When COVID was really rampant. Yeah, that's nothing to sneeze at. Yeah, I'm really glad that they did made some efforts here because she is quite sympathetic. We don't really learn anything about the other Chinese people, but I'm not the right person to say if there should have been more. But at least there is that one, and yeah, like she's very capable, and they make a deal, and yeah, it's the Chinese government that are, really harmful. Chinese people, a lot of them don't agree with the government, but there's only so much they can do. And certainly if you meet an East Asian individual somewhere here in the West, like, no, they almost definitely don't. Okay, it's not impossible that they agree with the Chinese government, but they didn't do COVID, okay? They didn't. I can never remember. There's been so many freaking back and forths about COVID, so I'm not going to say, because I genuinely don't remember what we ended up finding out about the origins of COVID. But one thing is for sure, East Asian individuals, like the actual people, were not going around purposefully infecting other people. So, yeah, really appreciate the effort here. It was, yeah, very cool when, at one point she gets like shoved into the and she closes the door and there's, alarm, alarm, and they turn, and we have a very MCU style joke with the swearing in Mandarin. I think they did okay at not letting those go overboard. And, part of his personality is, the let's see. I think it was Barasha. I feel like, crap, okay. My wrists will have to, Basha, I'm sorry. I mean no disrespect. Yeah, it is just part of Basha's person. Oh, Gary Anthony Williams. I thought I recognized. Yeah, High Councilman Rakim, played by, yeah, awesome. Yeah, in general, like, seems like pretty much everyone who voiced a character or more on this episode is like a person of color. So cool. Yeah, I think does that more or less get us to the yeah uh, um there were a couple of times where I felt like, okay, you don't have to do an MCU style joke right here. But they are getting better and not letting it take over. And certainly, I am so glad that this is nowhere near as broad in a lot of the comedy as What If. That was one of my biggest problems with that show. Just, characters would pull faces that are like out of Laurel and Hardy. And I love Laurel and Hardy, but I really don't want that in these stories. That's, yeah. But yeah, they don't go anywhere near as far with that here, so I appreciate that. And yeah, very cool fight. She really acquits herself well, Jirani. And let's see. Yeah, I liked how every so often she would use the Iron Fist, but a lot of the time she doesn't need it because she's just that freaking good. These are Wakanda, like the best warriors of Wakanda, and the Iron Fist just like cuts through, like, holy crap. Um, yeah, she gets out of that room, and I really appreciate that the thing about, this is your fault. You ran into me. That I sat there thinking they're gonna drag this out, aren't they? But they didn't. So I appreciate that. And that is also, I mean, technically, he doesn't realize what Ebo is talking about there, but, we're again seeing Basha, he's not really great at taking responsibility for his mistakes, because, like, technically both of them ran into each other, so, yeah. I don't know that it needed to be an MCU-style joke, but they didn't push it too far, and it was character development, development. Yeah, we're seeing the character, like, even when he runs into someone else, he's like, that was your fault. So, and by the end of the episode, he has grown. Yeah. Let's see, there's the distraction, and then, it was very cool when she looked out the window and she was like, I've never seen a place like this. And yeah, they fight briefly. He manages to take off the mask, and we get the wonderful wordless montage that says so much about, he was found out there in the middle of nowhere, and she dragged him in, nursed him back to health. Like, there's a part where he has to basically, he's learning to walk again, and the let's see, yeah, and up to and including, she was still awake. She puts on the outfit, sneaks on board, and yeah, I mean, I can see how she could get in there, and that's in part because he's not careful enough. He's too over eager. And that's, again, that's a character flaw we can all understand. A lot of us were that way when we were younger, yeah. So freaking. I know I'm a broken record on this, but if you are making a piece of action fiction, live action or animation, if you can make your characters fight, or in this case, jump between vehicles moving at a high enough speed that someone could get hurt if there's even a tiny misstep, try to put it in there, because it just, in my opinion, it adds so much. And holy crap, just, yeah, the jumping between, and sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down, and this to the side, and the jumping between the different ones, so cool. Love the bit where there's a fight and we're seeing it like reflected. Yeah, that's once they get to the trophy room. It's, reminded me of the Suicide Squad. So yeah, it wasn't quite as, in the Suicide Squad. It's perhaps also saying something. What we're seeing, it reflected, the battle reflected in, but whatever. Well, I guess here, is it the fact that they're breaking things in the holiest of holies, maybe? But the yeah, and the bit where he, like, falls off. I was sitting there thinking, are they actually going to kill him? But he lands on another train, and yeah, she manages to get all the way into the trophy room, and great fight using all the various artifacts, and the one with light, and she steps on like some kind of sharp thing, picks it up, throws it, destroys the light thing, and let's see, we have the bit where he like used that thing to like glue her to the wall, and then like she managed to break out with the Iron Fist and cause the big what's it called, shockwave when she lands with the fist, superhero landing and all. I gotta say, this really made me consider. I guess I could play a little bit more Marvel's Avengers. It really reminded me of the let's see, I think it was called War for Wakanda. That entire DLC campaign. Holy crap! Like running, in that you're also sometimes running around inside the yeah, Wakanda, and the way they fight is very reminiscent of. Anyway, I think that does pretty much so yeah, very close to the end. There's the thing about we're gonna have to reach an agreement, and I appreciate that he's the one who says it rather than anyone else. And she doesn't say it immediately, but I think the moment that she hears that, she's like, we can do that. Yeah, I mean, she just wants the statue back. Guys, it's okay. She just wanted her statue back. But yeah, she removes the tongue, which the vibranium tongue. I did not love that. That was perhaps my least favorite MCU style joke, because there's that thing. I mean, that was all that had to be done. And I mean, I think they're saying that Basha should have been able to remove the tongue then, but she used her Iron Fist power, though. I guess maybe Ebo didn't see that, or is that the joke that he says that even though he saw it? I don't know. That didn't. Yeah, I didn't think that necessarily worked. I love this rumination on who does an object belong to, because technically, in a sort of way, they're both right, because yeah, vibranium should be in Wakanda, but the statue, she points out, over what was it, 1,000 years or something, this statue has come to mean more to my people than it ever did to you. And yeah, that is again a thing. Like, we gotta remember when we're talking about like stuff like this, like everything came from somewhere, and a lot of people and things moved around over the years. We have to find a way to just agree, maybe share, or some kind of just, yeah. I mean, sometimes wars are waged over just, yeah, things that really shouldn't. I think that does pretty well cover. Very cool that Ebo got to be an agent instead of just captain. And him, the subtitles said, mirthfully, as he says, Agent Ebo, I like that. And yeah, he's like, hey, I can get her to, the plane. Yeah, I mean, I guess. So we don't see the very ending, but we don't see what happens after that. But I figure Basha and Jarani both go, back into the plane. She maybe even hides where she was before, and he flies her back to China. They have a goodbye, and that's also they're still doing a really good job getting us emotionally invested. Did either of them fully care about each other because both of them had a mission and kind of thing, but yeah, he'll fly her out. She'll leave. Promise not to say anything about Wakanda. And I think by then there's enough trust there. He'll fly back. nobody else knows. It's just Basha, Jirani, and Ebo know what actually happened there. Everybody else is none the wiser, and it is genuinely clever. The to say, oh, it was just a test. And hey, there's room for improvement, but some things we did really well. So yeah, Ebo thought of this whole thing. Because Basha is usually one to say, I did this, and like usually I'm not sure he would say that about something he didn't do, but him giving Ebo credit, that is very big of him. So yeah, um, I thought that was a really great bit of character growth, and yeah, by the end he really does appreciate better, all this history, and it's not about you, So yeah, I think that more or less covers. Um, but yeah, they say, oh, it was a very unfortunate training exercise, and nobody's like, don't you mean training exercise gone wrong? Because like a training exercise by itself is not a bad thing.